We're in the Anthropocene, but only just. So how do we make a start of living in this new age? In the last video, I said I'd do something on the Megalayan drought crisis and its significance in terms of how the evolution of the world order occurred. In previous videos, I've mentioned that we can trace the world order, as it is generally thought of today, back through the period known as the Megalayan Age, which is the latest of the three subdivisions of the Holocene, the second period of life on Earth in the Quaternary geological age. So now let's have a look at how the influence of its discovery is not only profound, but also necessary to understand the events which are leading towards the official announcement of the Anthropocene. This is from Jonathan Amos, BBC Science correspondent, July 18, 2018. I am paraphrasing it, as it is quite long. Welcome to the Megalayan Age, a new phase in history. The official history of Earth has a new chapter, and we are in it. Geologists have classified the last 4,200 years as being a distinct age in the story of our planet. They are calling it the Megalayan Age, the onset of which was marked by a mega drought that crushed a number of civilizations worldwide. We currently live in what's called the Holocene epoch, the last 11,000 years, but the Holocene itself has been subdivided by the International Commission on Stratigraphy, or ICS. It is the official keeper of geologic time, and it proposes three stages be introduced to denote the epoch's upper, middle, and lower phases. These all record major climate events. The Megalayan, the youngest stage, runs from 4,200 years ago into the present, and it began with a destructive drought whose effects were lasted 2 centuries and severely disrupted civilizations in Egypt, Greece, Syria, Palestine, Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, and the Yangtze River. It was likely triggered by shifts in ocean and atmospheric circulation. The Megalayan Age is unique among the many intervals of the geological timescale in that its being coincides with global cultural event produced by global climatic events, says Stanley Finney, Professor of Geological Sciences at Long Beach State University and Secretary General of the International Union of Geological Sciences, which ratified the ICS proposal. The oldest phase of the Holocene is called the Greenlandian because it brought us out of the Ice Age, and it's the spot where they discovered the geological evidence was in Greenland. So the middle phase is called the North Grippian, and it runs from 8,300 years ago up to the start of the Megalayan. However, it has all drawn criticism from some scientists who believe the move is premature, as they question if some of the climate shift used as the anchors for the new ages were truly global in their impact. They are also concerned that the divisions have been approved when there is still an active debate about assigning a new geological slice of time to reflect specifically on the influence of humans on the planet, the Anthropocene, beginning point of which and the spike used to denote its initiation is the subject of ongoing research. Mark Maslin is a professor of geography at University College London, UK, and a key figure in the Anthropocene discussion. He told BBC News after the original paper, and going through various committees, they've suddenly announced the Megalayan and stuck it in the diagram. It's official, we're in a new age, who knew? We have lots of definitions that perhaps contradict the Anthropocene Working Group and go against what most scientists perceive to be the most important change on Earth in the last 10,000 years. But Professor Walker moved to clarify the situation, saying, to be quite frank, I see absolutely no conflict at all between the new subdivisions that we have here and a future designation of the Anthropocene. These divisions of the Holocene are based entirely on physical, climatic, environmental evidence, whereas the difference with the Anthropocene is that it rests entirely on evidence for human impact. So the thing is here that what I'm going to show is that we need to understand the Megalayan Age in order to understand how events are coming to the, well, not only to the Anthropocene, but also to the official announcement of the Anthropocene in terms of the way that it's happening. That's the end of the article, and I believe it shows the way in which geologists are operating, bringing the evidence for new periods of human social history arising from the link between life on Earth and the geological ages. But what about the actual social history of humans themselves? it does not take into account the human factor in terms of their reaction to geological conditions, which shows humans are heading into an age where we are having more of an impact on the planet than it is having on us. This article from National Geographic magazine shows the human side of the story as it talks about the reorganizing of societies. Just to clarify something I said previously about the Megalayan drought crisis causing a mass migration to urban centres, I was talking about the situation in the long term, talking about the empires that emerged from this. Scientists announcing the Megalayan age are talking about a short-term collapse of civilization in terms of a migration away from urban centres. But this article shows other scientists talking about how it initially caused a short-term collapse in various parts of the world, but in the long term led to social reorganisation. And it's titled Ancient Mega Drought Causes Present-Day Drama. We are living in the Megalayan age, but a scientific scuffle has broken out over what marks the beginning of this new geologic time period by Erin Blakemore, September 21st, 2018. It says roughly that about 4,200 years ago, a catastrophic worldwide drought caused the collapse of societies all over the world. That's an archaeological theory linked to the newest division of geological time, the Megalayan age. But in a new article in Science magazine, Guy Middleton, senior researcher at the Czech Institute of Egyptology at Charles University, says events did not necessarily happen in the way currently seen by science. So what is the Megalayan age? If the name doesn't ring a bell, it's no surprise. The age was only recently defined. The youngest, newest unit of geological time, it was adopted earlier this year by the International Commission on Stratigraphy, or ICS, so this is in 2018. And with this decision, the ICS split the current geological epoch that began around 11,650 years ago, the Holocene, into three parts. These would be the Greenlandian, North Grippian, and the Megalayan ages, the last of which started around 4,200 years ago, and at the time this was written, it lasted until the present day. This sudden global megadrought, a drought that lasts 2 decades or longer, can be found in chemical signatures in a stalagmite cave in the Indian state of Meghalaya, hence the name. How did the megadrought affect humans? The drought significantly impacted civilizations all over the world, says archaeologist Harvey Weiss, a professor of Near Eastern civilizations in the anthropology department at Yale University, who is also an author of the 2012 ICS paper that initially proposed the case for the Megalayan age. The megadrought had profound societal effects, says Weiss. Cities and towns were abandoned and people transitioned from urban to rural societies. He said that some of the civilizations were severely impacted, including Egypt's Old Kingdom and the Akkadian Empire in Mesopotamia, which both collapsed, as well as the Indus Valley of modern-day Pakistan and India, where large cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa were abandoned around this time. However, Middleton doesn't think so. In his reading of the archaeological evidence, societal collapses happened at different times, contradicting the argument that a single global climate event precipitated them. He said in his Science magazine article that in Egypt, the collapse of the Old Kingdom was really a slow fragmenting of centralized power. The Indus Valley Society, he claimed, moved away from urban centres, but only over a long period of time. The idea that the societal collapse can only put down to one simple reason ignores people's agency, he says. Middleton doesn't even like the term collapse. He says it is a bit of a weasel term. Things aren't usually as simple as climatic change equals collapse. More often, Middleton says, societies would have reorganised. He also notes that societies like the Akkadian Empire, whose capital has never been located, cannot be accurately dated, and therefore we can't assess the actual impact of the drought in many areas. So this is exactly what I've been saying, in the sense that the long-term evidence points to a mass migration towards urban centres as society reorganises, and the large-scale empires of the ancient world which emerge out of this period and characterise the ancient world. So that represents the first third, really, of the Megalayan age. well, certainly in terms of events, but even longer in terms of time. And I think that the term Megalayan age is a bit misleading if it's not properly understood. So it's just that the drought forms a convenient watershed boundary when we're talking about different types of civilization we had over the last 4,200 years, which is the world old, which I produced a 130,000 word book on, called Postmodernity and the Creation of the Anthropocene. Evolved through periods within the Megalayan age. So that is the ancient world, the Middle Ages, the modern, and the postmodern are all part of the Megalayan age. So if we correctly understand this, then the Megalayan age can provide an explanation for how we arrived at the world order that we have today. So my theory on what's happening in geology at the moment is the chaos caused by the shape of human societies as they have evolved out of history has meant that it's taken a very long time for us to actually work all this out. And this is the reason why scientists have only just recently been able to categorize these periods, out of which our present age evolved and the events within them which make sense all along within the geological timescale they occurred in. Henceforth, we will sooner or later come to the formal acceptance of the Anthropocene as scientists work out from the new material which is being published how to formulate their proposal of the idea. As far as I'm concerned, I've already made it obvious from a social history perspective why we're in the Anthropocene, and the geologists need to catch up. Something I think they're missing is, in terms of the purely human element, there have been other factors which have caused crisis on the way, which geologists have not been able to incorporate, like the bubonic plague in the Middle Ages, and there was even a polar switch when people were evolving out of Africa around 780,000 years ago, which is believed to have taken around 7,000 years. In the early 1900s, geologist Bernard Bruns noticed that volcanic rocks were magnetized in the opposite direction to the local Earth's field. Researching this revealed that these events happened on average every 450,000 years. There is also evidence that a near flip happened 42,000 years ago, which lasted 800 years and destabilized the atmospheric conditions of the planet. It also coincides with some of the oldest recorded cave art, leading to theories that it drove humans indoors to find shelter in caves. There is also evidence of an increased use of red ochre as sunscreen around this time. Then there's the thing about the world spinning in opposite directions from the north and south hemisphere perspectives, which has an effect on the way people there relate to each other. Also, the issues arising from the Native Americans being effectively lost to the rest of the world for over 10,000 years until the Europeans arrived, which led to the European recolonization of the Americas, the European world economy, modern capitalism, the revolution, communism, destabilization of geopolitics in World War I and II, and the whole of the postmodern age, means that it seems that the way we manage the situation that we're in actually is more of a factor, eventually leading to this emergence of humans from nature and towards a situation where we are having more of an impact on the planet than it's having on us. So in the next video, I'm going to be looking at how the world situation has been managed over time, and thus how the shift to the Anthropocene ultimately arises out of the way the situation is evolving through the periods as the factors governing the way that events occur are shifting more towards a world of our own making. In the meantime, please like, share and subscribe to this channel for further updates.